Hello everyone, welcome to the presentation of intrauterine drug delivery system and novel drug delivery system part 3. Here we will be discussing about copper IODs. In earlier sessions we have discussed about the basic introduction of IODs, the anatomy of uterus, and in second part we have discussed about the general introduction of IODs, their generations and the history background as well as advantages and disadvantages. Here we will be discussing about copper bearing IODs in detail, which is a part of medicated IODs. So, move on to next slide. Here is the introduction, or we can say background, how the copper bearing IODs, concept of copper bearing IODs initiated. So, let us have a look. In 1969, Zipper et al. Reported copper attached to an IOD markedly enhanced the effectiveness. We have two different type of IODs, medicated and non-medicated. Non-medicated does not have any medicinal agent, but due to its mechanical interaction to the uterine wall, it possesses or it shows antifertility action or contraceptive action. Whereas, in medicated IODs, either the copper is there or the progesterone releasing hormone is there in the IOD, and they shows antifertility action in the uterus and exerts contraceptive action. So, here in 1969, Zipper et al. Reported that the copper attached to an IOD markedly enhanced the effectiveness as contraceptive agent, right. If copper is there, then it may show antifertility action in the uterus and prevent conception. Made up of polypropylene and polyethylene plastic support. So, it is available as a design number 7 and letter T. In both shapes and designs, the copper bearing IODs are available, which are coiled with copper wire around the structure. Let it be 7, let it be T. In both shapes, the copper wire is coiled around the structure, right. T-shaped IOD is the most popular as its shapes conforms to uterine cavity. The expulsion rate of these IODs comes under the disadvantages of IOD, and this is the reason most of the women discontinue with the treatment or does not have that much efficacy of IODs or the treatment, right. So, T-shaped copper IODs are more preferable than 7 as it is retained in intact form within the uterine area, right. So, it also resists device displacement. Expulsion rate is much lesser than that other designs, and rotation inside the cavity and also expulsion from the cavity. Upon oxidation, copper present in the body fluid start releasing its ion slowly and exerts its effect locally. The device is effective for more than 3 years. How copper exerts its antifertility action or contraceptive action in the uterus. Once it is inserted as IOD within the uterus, the copper present in the body fluid start releasing its ion, right, and slowly over the period of 3 years and exerts its effect locally in the area of uterus, and it is effective for more than 3 years. Antifertility action of copper. Why copper is preferred for IUDs for contraceptive activity, right, or to be used as contraceptive method as IUDs. It is cytotoxic, spermatocidal, spermatodepressive action. It is having different action which contributes to its anti-fertility action. First is cytotoxic, spermaticidal and spermatodepressive action. It kills sperms or depress the activity of sperms. It is a competitive inhibitor of steroid receptor interaction sites, right. So, steroid receptor interaction site, it is a competitive inhibitor, binds to the receptor site so that the conception does not takes place. Copper is a potent inhibitor of steroid receptor binding site and acts through direct interfere, resulting in the increased contraceptive effect of copper IODs. I repeat, the copper is a potent inhibitor of steroid receptor binding site and acts through direct interference, resulting in the increased contraceptive effect of copper IODs. So, it is a competitive inhibitor, potent inhibitor of the steroid receptor binding site, right, and this is how it shows its contraceptive action. Copper is taken up by endometrial epithelium, the layer of uterus, and stromata, second layer, right. So, endometrium takes up this copper and there the copper start showing its effect. Copper inhibits progestational proliferation and estrogenic activities, right, which promotes the these are the phases in menstruation cycle and these are the factors which occurs for fertilization and necessary for fertilization. So, copper inhibits these type of steps to prevent conception or fertilization. It has little effect on sperm mobility. Moreover, it has effect on sperm mobility, but little lower. Now, after anti-fertility action of copper, we will discuss variety types of or designs available in copper bearing IODs. One, the general categorization is the design 7 and T, right. In T, different bases on the volume or the weight used in the IODs of copper, it is named differently, like C, copper T200, copper T220C, copper T380A. So, the copper bearing intrauterine device is a small flexible frame with copper sleeves or wire around it. You see in the picture that this copper, this is the device and this is the copper, they are coiled up like this, right, and like this. So, on the basis of these amount, right, the device are named as T20, 220C and 380A. So, over the period of time, this copper releases ions and start exerting its anti-fertility action to the target site. The device is T-shaped, made up of polyethylene plastic. Moreover, this basic design is made up of polyethylene plastic, made up of plastic and upon which the copper wire is coiled up. The copper wire is coiled around the stem of T, that means this is the basic stem of polyethylene plastic on which the copper wire is coiled around, right. Different grades are available as per the surface area of wire used. Surface area of wire used means on the basic stem how much copper wire is used or coiled. On that basis, these different devices are termed as CU, copper T200, copper T220C and copper T380A, right. So, now first is copper T200. It is approved in 1976 by US authority and 7 copper sleeves of copper on both arms, right. So, the description is like all the copper bearing IODs contains copper, but they have some different description how it is termed at 200, 220C and 380A. So, 7 copper sleeves of copper on both arm are present in these type of IODs, retain physical integrity for 15 to 20 years. See the description, 15 to 20 years it can be it retains its physical integrity, that means it does not degrade over the period of these 15 to 20 years. Long lasting, beneficial to population in which medical care not readily available. So, these are preferable in those type of population where medical facility or medical care is not provided up to the mark. The copper wire of surface area 200 mm square exhibits maximum contraceptive activity. It is observed that the copper wire of surface area 200 mm square, as in the previous slide we have discussed that different grades are available as per the surface area of wire. So, it is observed that the surface area of 200 mm of copper wire shows maximum contraceptive action or activity. So, here you see the design of copper 200 IODs. Now, we will discuss about in this picture no copper is wired in the top stem, where in T220C you can see that the copper wire is fixed coiled around the stem as well as on the bottom stem, right. So, a new long acting copper T IOD, it is comes under your control device as well, that it is a new design. It has 5 solid copper sleeves on the vertical arm of the T and 2 sleeves on the horizontal arm. This is considered to be a vertical arm and this is horizontal. As you see, 2 sleeves of on horizontal arm, this is horizontal and this is vertical, and 5 sleeves of on vertical arm. You see here, this is clearly seen in the picture. It has 5 solid copper sleeves on the vertical arm of the T and 2 sleeves on the horizontal arm, thereby providing an effective surface area of 220 square meter of copper, right. Estimated period of effectiveness of this IOD, this type of IOD is 20 years. So, in earlier sessions we were talking about that the duration therapy of these IODs or usage of these IODs can be varied from 3 years to 10 years, and now it is showing that copper bearing IODs may be used for 20 years, up to 20 years. The rate of pregnancy, expulsion and removal for bleeding pain are less as compared to CUT 300, right. One more type is available. If compared with 300 type of copper bearing IODs, it is observed that the rate of pregnancy, expulsion rate and the bleeding and pain intensities are comparatively less. Now, the third design is CUT 380A, right. Cu represent copper, T is a design and 380 is a description of the IOD. Now, it is approved in 1984 by US government. 2 collars of copper on transverse arm, 2 collars of copper or transverse, that means here, right, 1 and 2, right, and each collar provides additional surface area of 30 square meter, right. So, each collar provides additional surface area of 30 square meter, means it is all same T shaped, and last type 220C is also having this type of design with the vertical and horizontal arm, but some different specification is there, that the square meter surface area of copper wire used on the device. So, here it has each collar provides additional surface area of 30 square mm, right. T-shaped polyethylene device wound with 30 mm copper wire. Here the 30 mm copper wire is used to make these type of IODs. Efficacy improved when copper wire is located on the transverse arm as in close contact with the upper portion of uterine cavity. So, as you see, I will draw one picture here to make you understand. The uterus is like pear shaped, right. So, device is fixed here. So, if it is like T shaped, then if copper is wired here, right. So, it is observed that if it is placed here, it will show the enhanced activity of as contraceptive agent, right. So, if it is wound around the transverse section of the IOD, it will show the enhanced activity of the device. So, move on to next type, the copper 7 IODs, copper bearing semi shaped IODs. So, it is manufactured by GD, Searle and companies. First device approved by US FDA for 3 years of use, right. So, it is a first device which is approved by US FDA for the treatment duration or the using time for 3 years. 89 mg of copper wire around vertical limb with surface area of 200 square mm is used to make these type of IODs. You see, this is the basic stem and you see the copper wire style coiling from this area. Nothing is present on the upper stem. So, this is the basic description in this, right. So, 89 mm copper wire around vertical limb with surface area of 200 square mm is being used in these type of IODs. Smaller volume 0.093 centimeter cube, then copper T 0.16 centimeter cube and easily inserted in nulliparous women. These type of women, those who have not given birth to the child, right. So, these are called nulliparous women. So, smaller volume and these are specially designed for these type of women, and it is observed that these type of women, nulliparous women, carried these type 7 shaped IODs, copper bearing IODs very well as compared to the other type of women, right. The polypropylene plastic device shaped like number 7. The basic stem is made up of polypropylene plastic and it released 9.87 microgram per day for 40 months. So, the release pattern is like the release amount is 9.87 microgram of copper for 40 months. Cervical dilation not needed, right, and removal is painless. So, these are the description of these type of copper 7 IODs. Now, if you compare or if you want to compare the T and 7 design, so it is observed that the pregnancy rate per percentage women here, pregnancy rate, and this is the treatment for months, 50 months they have shown. So, if you see copper T and copper 7, so pregnancy rate is lower in copper 7 up to the 50 months if observed 40 months and higher in copper T IODs. So, graph represents its comparison plot of copper bearing IODs in T design as well as in 7. So, the woman bearing 7 design 7 shaped IODs, copper IODs were shown to be have a less pregnancy rate as compared to your copper T designs, right. So, this is one of the report says like this, and let me remove all the marks. Now, if we talk about release kinetics of copper IODs, so if we are making these IODs, then we should know the release pattern as well as their release kinetics for declaring it as controlled drug delivery system. So, it shows continuous release by ionization, copper ion releasing slowly and it may have effect, and chelation process, copper wire generally reduces with the time due to corrosion and flaking of metal. Once it inserted into the uterus or uterine area, it start releasing its copper ion with the by this flaking of metal and corrosion properties, right. Copper 7284 delivers copper at a rate of following expression. One of the design is also investigated, right. So, the rate of expression or rate of delivery, rate of release of copper from these type of device is like dosage in mg is equal to 0.3 into month plus 3.79. This is the rate of this is the expression formula how we can see the release of the copper from the IODs over the period of time. Release rate is 9.87 microgram per day and shows linear relationship between cumulative copper release with the duration, right. So, this is how we calculate the copper release from the device up to the said duration. Reduction in copper release due to formation of corrosion layer of protein and crustation layer of calcium impermeable. So, if the copper is not releasing up to the mark as calculated, the reason behind it may be corrosion layer of protein, which is as it is inserted in within the uterus for several years, from month to years. So, the protein layer can be present on the device, which may hinder the copper ion release from the device, and encrustation layer of calcium, which is impermeable and does not allow calcium copper to pass this layer. So, these are the factors which restricts the copper ion release. What are the different new developments in copper bearing IODs? So, multi-load copper IODs, it is a new term or advancement we can say in copper bearing IODs. First, what are the description, we can have a look here. Combination of copper T and Dalton shields without central plastic membrane. If you see, this is the design of T shaped copper bearing IODs and Dalton shield is like, right. So, it is like, so it is a combination of this these two IODs here. Now, blunt apex of device fits into the vault of uterine cavity without penetrating endometrial walls. So, without causing any discomfort or inflammation to the endometrium walls, it may easily fit to the area. Two teeth studded side arms adapt to the counters of the uterine cavity. These are the description or advancement in the IOD's design, which promotes its usage and the compatibility for in terms of the expulsion as well as the patient compliance. Two teeth studded side arms adapt to the contours of the uterine cavity to fix well. During uterine contraction, fundus presses against upper edge of IOD result in bending of arms. So, during uterine contraction, the fundus presses against upper edge of IODs resulting bending of the arms. That means, this is not rigid and this episode will not cause the expulsion of IOD. It is flexible, that it bends its arms while inserting into the retaining in the uterus part. It will not expelled out when the uterine contraction occurs. So, it will retain within the area and will not expelled out. So, this is the advancement. Pregnancy rate found to be 0.3% and expulsion is only 1% due to the flexibility of design. So, number 1 is MlCu 250. This is, as I have make you understand, the combination is T plus Delkin Shields like this, right. So, here you see in the next picture that it comes in various designs like MlCu 250 and MlCu 375. Definitely if it is copper, so it depends on the surface area of the wire of copper used in the device, that is named as 250 and 375. Now, you see the advancement of copper IODs look like this. So, this is varying size of MlCu 250 with long stem and 375 with short stem, right. So, MlCu 250 introduced in 1974, that concept is very old, it is not new, but the release pattern and the advancement of using medicinal agent is quite new. It comes in short length as well as long length, provide 3 years of contraceptive protection, whereas MlCu 375 has thicker copper wire with a surface of 370 square mm. As I have told you that the name depicted here, it depends on the surface area of the wire used in the device. It comes in the standard and short length as well as long and short both, to suit the size of worm. Some depending on the physiological variation, the size available in 2 types for different size of worm with in women's. It provides 5 years of contraceptive protection. MlCu 375 provides contraception for 5 years, whereas 250 provides or offers contraception for 3 years. Second advancement is Nova T380 IODs. It also contains copper. As you see, the shape is like T and the wire is coiled here, right, like this from here to here. So, in Nova T380 IOD, device is made up of polyethylene and wound with copper wire with a silver core, right. So, this is the advancement. Surface area of the copper is 380 mm square, right. So, surface area here is 380 mm square. The polyethylene body shaped as modified T. In earlier T shaped, this is like, whereas in this, like, this is the advancement T shaped here. So, here it look like the advancement Nova T380 IOD. The polyethylene body shaped as modified T is impregnated with barium sulphate. This is the another advancement, that barium sulphate is used in this device. Removable threads pigmented with the iron oxide are attached to the base of vertical arm of T, right. So, this is the advantage that the iron oxide is added to this device for further usage of IODs in women. Removable threads is also present here, as you see the thread is here, though it is present in other devices too, but here it is described as. Effective for 5 years and pregnancy rate with Nova T380 found to be 0.6 per 100 women in a year. So, also the pregnancy rate is very low in these type of devices. So, here we have discussed in this session, we have discussed about the various type of copper bearing IODs and their comparison between T shape and 7 shape copper bearing IODs and their advancement like MlCu 250, 375 and Nova T 380 IODs. So, I hope I am able to make you understand about the copper bearing IODs as a medicated one in controlled manner, and in this current scenario why these are considered as important dosage form for contraceptive method. So, I hope you understand all these things very well, and in coming session we are going to discuss about another medicated IODs, progesterone releasing hormone IODs. So, we will be meeting in next session. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you.